Thanks, Karen, and howdy to everyone joining from all over the place. Sounds like some wild weather and some enjoyable weather for those of you in the Florida and the Caribbean. Um, I'm really excited. The emergency subcommittee for our commission and equine veterinary sustainability has been working hard at trying to flesh out ideas that we can use in practice to relieve the after hours burden that is causing burnout, is causing people to leave practice, is causing people to be unhappy in their day-to-day practice. And one of the things that we came up with was actually this vet triage thing, and is something my practice has been using for the past couple of years. And it's really it's revolutionary in the sense that we all thought that there had to be this veterinarian client patient relationship that had to be established one-on-one, and there's actually this area that triage exists in between that is beautiful, and it they can serve as a gatekeeper to us having to actually take that call, and it's is just very life-giving to my practice. I think it might be life-giving to your practice as well. And so we reached out to Shadi and asked him if he would mind just sort of explaining all the nuances of that triage to us, and not just his platform. He's got the only platform, but there may be competitors. But I think it's important to him to explain the entire landscape of telemedicine as it stands today with us, and so that we can understand how to navigate that in our practices. So I'm very pleased to introduce Shadi. He is a board certified veterinary surgeon. He received his DVM from Cornell in 2006. After which he did a couple of very high intensity internships, one at Angel Animal Medical Center in Boston and another at Long Island veterinary specialist in New York. And then he joined True Care after being a surgeon out in the world for many years. He joined True Care for Pets in the LA area as a chief of specialty, where he really was instrumental in morphing the after hours of weekend emergency hospital. That became a 24/7 emergency and multi-specialty veterinary hospital, and so Shadi just really helped organize that after hours duty, because I think there's pain points also in the small animal sector. So he currently serves as the chief medical officer for VetTriage, a company that he started 4 years ago. And their goal is to deliver a novel, state-of-the-art means of reaching concerned pet owners and their ill pets worldwide. And Shadi, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to hand the mic over to you and let you really break down VetTriage and explain it to my colleagues.
Sure thing. Let me share my screen here. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Franklin. Thank you to the entire AAEP. This is a very exciting opportunity, and we do hope to shift the culture in a positive direction. We've been triaging horses since the beginning of VetTriage, but now we have an official platform dedicated to the equine owners out there. And so we offer now 24/7 equine practitioners, global scale, but of course mostly in the US. We'll go over the details here in this webinar. So the goal here is optimizing workflow after hours and improving the culture with veterinary telehealth. You've now heard my background. Cornell grad of 06, did a general internship, followed by 2 surgical internships, surgical residency, all in small animal, and then practiced around the nation until finally launching VetTriage the end of 2019. We actually had been working on VetTriage for close to 15 years, believe it or not. So this was not induced by the pandemic. And the original idea came to me during my surgical internship. So I'll go into more details regarding that. What I'd like to go over here is a few a few quotes from folks in the field. These quotes are, of course, unfortunately, all too familiar to those watching this and listening to this. And by the way, we have proceedings for you that were shared in the chat, and hopefully be shared with you after the webinar as well. Those proceedings are very, very detailed. They not only go into VetTriage, but they go over several decades of equine veterinary history. And so you're welcome to read that at your leisure. That will be way more in-depth than we're going to go into here regarding the landscape of the equine world. So keep that in mind as well. This is mostly just hang out, listen, and of course, any questions you have, I'm happy to entertain. The expectations, standards, and history with equine veterinarians and veterinary medicine were built by hardworking, task-oriented perfectionists who laid the groundwork where few people these days dare to walk. Horse owners need to be aware of the equine veterinary shortage, as they are a key to the solution, making the work fit the workforce rather than making the workforce fit the work. Another quote here, again, all too familiar. The clients are bonded to the practice, not to a particular veterinarian. Increasing horse owner regard for the value of equine veterinarians is needed. The use of first names, liberal sharing of cell phones, the 24/7 availability without boundaries has eroded some clients' respect for equine vets. And I imagine folks that are watching this now are like, yeah, nodding their heads, this is what's been going on. And then finally, we need to create a culture where equine vets or respected clients need to set up appointments to have questions answered. We have to stop allowing clients to dictate the medicine, and they need to deal with the fear of losing clients. A bad client that doesn't pay you is worse than not having that client at all. They allow clients to avoid payments and don't allow associates to refuse service or fire those clients, so who gets punished? And this has been going on, of course, for decades. This is not new to any of us. Small animal, large animal, doesn't matter. We've been dealing with this. So we're going to go over a few concepts here. First, how VetTriage started, how to define veterinary telehealth, the various principles behind other telehealth platforms that are out there, some stats on VetTriage. We'll talk about the current state of affairs with horses and their owners. We'll talk about the vet shortage, suicide rates, turnover, the new graduates, and emergency coverage. These are the bullet points, by the way, that are expanded on in great detail in the proceedings. We'll go over publications as well, and then the process for your hospital, for your clients when you partner with VetTriage, how that whole process works. We'll go over an example session as well, and we'll talk about the overall workflow and what kind of outcomes you can expect when your facility partners with VetTriage. And then finally, we'll tackle several common concerns, questions that I typically get at forums like this, followed by any questions that you folks have. More than happy to answer. So VetTriage started when I was a surgery intern / resident at Long Island Veterinary Specialist. And the concern that I had was listening to the receptionists, who are 24/7 receptionists at this large facility, and they handle 100 plus calls every 24 hours. And the most common question, as you know, is, should I come in? Should I be worried? Is this an emergency? And because receptionists are not medically trained, the answer has always been, if you are concerned, come in. And that over time has led to clients showing up, regardless of whether or not they truly had a medical emergency, and then also leading to cultural toxicity, burning out, compassion fatigue, high turnovers, difficulty with hiring, retaining. And so the combination of high volume plus the inherent culture of the veterinary field, then accelerated by the pandemic, where adoptions went up and client frustrations went up, all that just cascaded into this the state of affairs that we currently are dealing with. So this was not just a COVID problem. This was something I had noticed many years ago before the pandemic, but the pandemic certainly accelerated it, and the launch of VetTriage occurred in the end of 2019. So it was before the pandemic was even in our sights. Definitions are the most important thing here when you're talking about telehealth, and that's where the majority of confusion amongst our colleagues is. The American Veterinary Medical Association, AVMA, defines teletriage, or rather telehealth, with this chart. I highlighted there with the green double arrow where VetTriage lives. This is teletriage, teleadvice. So there's no VCPR, no veterinary client-patient relationship needed. All the other different teles that you see there may or may not require VCPR, but they are not how VetTriage operates. And telemedicine, as you can see there, for example, is a very commonly thrown around word that folks use synonymously with telehealth. That's where we start off with having issues, because the overarching term to explain anything virtual is telehealth. That's the word you use, that's the umbrella term. All the other teles are underneath telehealth. That includes telemedicine, teletriage, teleadvice, teleconsulting, telediagnostics. So telehealth is veterinary healthcare, is a veterinary healthcare and service public health platform. Telecommunication technologies assess, diagnose, they provide a variety of functionalities, and of course, the bare minimum, the client and patient are located at different areas. And that's telehealth. That's the overarching term, anything virtual. Then underneath that, you have all the different types of telehealth. And the problem with the telemedicine confusion is that when you use it synonymously with telehealth, well, then the meanings are lost. And if you look at any legalities, not just in the U.S., this is global, by the way, and they're using the term telemedicine exclusively. We don't know whether or not they truly mean telemedicine by definition, or whether they're just assuming that means telehealth. Those words matter. And so if you take those sentences literally, which is what we should if you're reading legal statutes, well, then they're just talking about telemedicine. And all the other tellers are not even acknowledged in the vast majority of statutes. So right away, we have a problem with defining these terms and everybody using them synonymously with the AVMA. So teletriage is the timely assessment and management to assess or determine urgency. Teleadvice is not specific general guidance, information, opinion, or recommendation. And the reason why VetTriage is teletriage, teleadvice is because those of us who've done triage in practice know you really can't have one without the other. If you're going to triage something, you're going to also give advice. If it's not an emergency, well, then the owner of that pet is going to say, well, then what do you think, doc? And there goes your advice. So teletriage, teleadvice kind of go hand in hand. And so that's why we live in both those spaces. When you look at other platforms that are out there, VetTriage was the first one, we're the largest one out there, we're the only one to operate in this capacity. But I want to be fair and say there are other platforms in existence. It's just a matter of where you consider gold standard level of care, and we of course envisioned VetTriage to always be gold standard from the beginning. So when you look at various principles regarding these platforms, you have to take into account, is a telehealth platform a software that you upload, download, use in your practice for your own telehealth? Or is this something that's outside of brick and mortar? Is it going to be a non-video platform, or is it going to be video-based? Those are two very different things. And by non-video, I mean telephone call, email, chatting, texting. Are you going to operate within a brick and mortar or outside of it, or have an external provider? Are you going to be asynchronous or synchronous? So asynchronous is a delayed transmission of information back and forth. Synchronous is real-time live. So an example of asynchronous is emailing back and forth, texting back and forth. Or if you're on the phone call with a client and then they text you later on some pictures, that's asynchronous. Synchronous is live, so live video, which is what VetTriage is. Are you going to have veterinarians or veterinary technicians? A lot of the language becomes a bit murky with other platforms. Who's actually giving the advice? Veterinary experts. That doesn't tell you much. Are you going to house specialists and GPs? What kind of telehealth? So for example, are you doing telemedicine, teletriage, teleadvice, teleconsulting, telediagnostics? What species, what hours of operation, how are you going to handle medical records, and do you even care about HIPAA compliance? VetTriage is HIPAA compliant. In the veterinary space, we're not required to be, but we are trying to anticipate the future. This may become an issue later on, and so we're already prepped for that. So taking into account all those different factors, that just scratches the surface of what any given telehealth platform may be made of. And so with VetTriage, our statistics currently, we actually might have exceeded 100,000 sessions at this point. We've had folks from over 20 different countries utilize the service. We've triaged almost 40 different animal types, everything from fish to ostrich to kangaroo, you name it, we've seen it. We've got 70 give or take veterinarians on staff. It's give or take because the part of the benefits of being on the platform as a veterinarian is that you have versatility in your schedule. So veterinarians come and go. Maybe somebody was on VetTriage because they were about to give birth and they became a new mom or dad and then they're gone and then they'll come back later on when they're ready. So about 70 doctors give or take. half a dozen support staff. Support staff are LVTs. They're the ones answering the phones for people who don't have internet, don't have video, so we can get them to pay over the phone and then get connected with our doctors. They also help with streamlining the process, but they're not giving medical advice. The veterinarians are the only ones that give medical advice on VetTriage. We're operational 24/7, 365. We've got actually close to 400 partners now worldwide. The majority, of course, in the US and Canada, but Cornell University, University of Minnesota, lots of different GPs, ER, specialty hospitals, rescue shelters utilize our services through partnerships. We launched a Spanish-speaking platform in 2022, so we've got 24/7 Spanish-speaking doctors on staff. Of course, the equine platform we launched at the end of 2023, and that houses only equine doctors. And then we'll talk about publications that VetTriage is involved with as well, because as a veterinarian myself and owner of the company, I value objective data, as we all do. So now we'll go into some stats here regarding the horses and their owners. And again, this is material that is way more detailed in your proceedings, but just to touch upon it. None of this stuff is probably going to be a surprise to anybody here, so listening and watching this, but I figured I'd go over it just to kind of sort of summarize where you currently stand. 80% of these horse owners actually rely on veterinarians as a source of information when making medical decisions. Over 40% of horse owners consider them pets. Almost 50% consider horses as family members. The client's priority when they're choosing an equine vet is the availability of on-the-farm care 24/7, and less than 10% of clients choose based on fees. Most horse owners are actually doing quite well financially. They make top 20% of the national income bracket. So the reason why this slide is important and why I picked these bullet points out is to show you that horse owners do, the minority see horses as just being a piece of property. They consider them pets or part of the family. That's huge. That means they're willing to commit to stuff. And then in regards to financials, because everybody here knows, and we're going to go into how the compensation works for equine vets, as well as whether or not you're charging even an emergency fee or charging for the commute to that horse owner's location. Clients seem to not really care about the finances, or at least not as much as maybe we think. And so the stats show that most are willing and able to take care of their pets. When you look at the veterinary shortages, again, the equine profession is no stranger to this. In 2020, the veterinary field grew by 17%, adding almost 15,000 new vets, and school admissions have gone up as well over the years. It boomed during the pandemic. Lots of people want to go to vet school. And you're seeing now more and more vet schools being built. 2023, a total number of vets, 127,000, and about, give or take, 4,000 are the equine. And as of 2024, almost 6% of vet students choose equine practice. So the reason for this slide is number one, is to show that we do have tons of veterinarians. In fact, we have more veterinary students than ever in our history. We have more veterinarians graduating than ever in our veterinary history. We have the largest number of vet schools ever in our history. So where are the veterinarians? Where are they going? Now, on the small animal side, I always consider this a relative shortage. We have plenty of vets. They just want to do this damn work. They don't want to be part of this. And after their first year in, they're out. They don't want to do it. They'll just do something else despite the debt. Whereas in the equine side, it is actually a shortage because there's a small percentage of veterinary students that dedicate themselves to equine. And so right away, you're stifled from the get-go. And then we'll talk about factors that accelerate their retirement from the field. So it's even more dangerous from respect of numbers on the equine side than it is on small animal, despite having a larger number of everything. Regarding suicide rates, veterinarians are 2.5 times more likely to attempt. Veterinarians succumb to suicide over 3 times the human side of things, and greater than the general population. As of 2023, over 50% of equine grads have left the profession within 5 years of graduating. These are terrible, terrible numbers. And so when you look at the longevity of the equine field, not just veterinary medicine in general, but the equine field specifically, it's no wonder we're in trouble. Staff turnover, 65% of equine job postings have no applicants. The burnout rate for veterinarians is 30%. Staff members over almost 50%. The reported veterinary challenges, mental health, suicide, staff shortages, and the average veterinary team has a way too high turnover rate annually when you compare to others in the industry and other hospitality industries. So again, nobody here is a stranger to this. We have high turnover, difficult in retaining our staff, and it's no wonder, of course, with all these different challenges they're facing. New graduates are going to be the key, right? I mean, that's how you replenish folks who are going to be retiring. And so what's going on with them? Well, debt is a problem. A debt to income ratio of less than 1.4 to 1 is considered no serious financial stress. Well, unfortunately, those entering equine practice have a DIR 3.7, which means that they're in trouble. They're at risk of being in serious trouble. The Gen Zs, which are now going to enter the workforce, they're making up 75%. Of them, 75% consider workplace flexibility the most important benefit. A benefit, not even like medical insurance or vacation time or CE hours. They want flexibility as the benefit. Satisfaction with work-life balance in the veterinary field is about 40%, whereas in the general population is over 60%. Veterinarians don't enjoy work. They don't find it invigorating. They've got conflicts at work. You have the debt issue, work stress, cyberbullying. These are things that the new grads are dealing with, even more so than the seasoned folks. And with the Gen Z coming in play, it's going to be amplified. Finally, the big slide here before we move on to other points. Emergency coverage. Again, no one here is a stranger to it. And of course, is where VetTriage aims to help you folks out the most. 35% of equine vets who are on call have support staff routinely on ambulatory calls, and 50% don't. And the rest kind of use them as needed. So that's a stressor for sure. You don't have support out there when you're on call. 77% service a radius of 0 to 60 miles, 22% over 61 miles, so long distances. Over 90% will charge a farm call or trip fee. 89% will do both. And in 2021, over 50% of equine practices had 2 doctors or less. So of course, they're on call the majority of the time. And so it's difficult to spread the wealth that way when you have 2 or less doctors on. The number of hours per week during the busiest quarters, those are the numbers there. It's way more than 40 hours a week that you folks are working. And during the quietest hours, it's still in the mid to upper 40s per week. The compensation from ER, receiving no compensation from ER, 25 to 42%. And 30% receive 100% of the compensation. So it's no wonder, besides everything else we just talked about, why is it that you don't enjoy the emergency on call? Oh, I can't figure it out. Look at all these numbers. The driving is insane. You're not using support staff routinely. Are you even charging for your doctor's time? Does the doctor who do the emergency call, do they even get compensated for it? These are very, very massive detriments to the platform, to the profession rather. We'll switch gears here a little bit before going into how VetTriage works more specifically. This is our first publication from VetTriage, 2023, December. So just published 15 animal types that were triaged successfully. One actually was a horse. At the time of publishing this, the species we chose to write the paper were those who've never been described before to have received any sort of telehealth service, teletriage or other. And so there's a chinchilla in there, there's a pleco fish, we have a chicken, a duck, a squirrel, so variety of animals in here. But just to show you that we're going to be publishing more papers. We have much larger papers coming out, thousands of animals. This was just sort of a way to introduce us into the field. So Frontiers Medical Journal published this, and we are very proud of it. Now let's go into the process. So the hospital process and the client process. And there's gonna be some overlap here. But this is how we get the ball rolling with your practice, partnering with VetTriage, so we can help take over your after hours emergency on call. First, let's set up a meeting, either a video call usually or a phone meeting. We want to meet your staff. We want to ask how your hospital operates, and most importantly, what are your struggles? What are you dealing with? And let's figure out a solution to those problems using our veterinarians for teletriage, tele-advice. I will then share with you protocols, maybe 1 or 2 page long Word document. We have one for equine, one for non-equine. For those practices that are mixed animal, you'll fill out both protocols. For those exclusively equine, you'll fill out the equine protocol. It's basically a fill in the blank. And the most important thing with these protocols is we want you to tailor it as specifically and with as much nuance as possible. I don't care whether you think what you're asking us to do is unrealistic or realistic. Let us decide that, but we can usually make things work. We want to make sure that your clients are being taken care of as if we are an extension of you, because we will be an extension of your facility, especially after hours. Fill out the protocols, send me the protocol back, send me a high resolution logo of your facility. We have no contracts, no agreements, there's nothing to sign there. And then the partnership itself is at no cost. Despite all these other things I'm going to go over, we don't charge the facility anything. The client pays us directly. The client pays $75 to be on live video with our doctor 24/7, equine doctor 24/7. Non-equine will be $50. Same deal. So we're going to create for you or for your hospital a unique landing page, flyers, and protocols. I'm going to show you examples of these. The landing page will be vettriage.com/whatever your hospital name is. You'll put that on your website with the VetTriage logo in either on the homepage and or the emergency section of your webpage, and you'll have a VetTriage logo. When the client clicks on there, it'll bring them to that website, and I'll show you an example. We're going to build flyers for you that you can share with clients, either print them and hand them out at checkout. You can email them to clients, add them to newsletters, social media posts. And then our individualized unique protocol that you filled out for me, we're going to clean it up and then make it live to our staff, and they'll know in real time that we've gone live, and they'll learn your protocol. Then your team will do the following. You'll add the logo, add the landing page, share the flyers. You'll change your voicemail message for either during the daytime or after hours or both, depending on how you're going to leverage us the most. You'll change your email auto response. If somebody emails you, you'll say, hey, we're currently closed, but please visit VetTriage if you think it's an emergency. Otherwise, leave us a message and we'll email you when we open. You're going to have social media posts. You know your demographic best. However you communicate with them, you'll leverage that. And probably a 1-week warning for your clients, just so they're not blindsided by this. You want to announce it to them ahead of time to say, hey folks, this is what we've been struggling with the past several years. VetTriage is a phenomenal solution. You're going to love it. We're going to love it. Here's what's going on with it. And we can help you with all of this. We've got even scripts that you can use for your voicemails, for your emails, for your social media posts. You can use the scripts, steal them, modify them, whatever you think. So the next few slides are going to be pretty small fonts. Just bear with me. The idea here is not to go through every single line. I just want to show you the level of detail that VetTriage invests in when you partner with us. So this is an example of the protocol that you're going to fill out. And so you literally fill out each one of those bullet points to tell us how your hospital operates. And you can write all over this. You can scratch things out, whatever it is you need to do to customize this. But this is a skeleton template that you'll fill out. This takes maybe an hour or two. If you get all the staff together, tackle this. This is how you operate during the daytime and after hours. The protocol continues. It's about a page and a half, 2 pages long. We're going to want all this information, and also we're going to need information with regards to, well, what happens if somebody is not on call all of a sudden? Well, if there's really bad snow and nobody can get anywhere, right? We need to know all these things. What if an owner comes home and the horse is found deceased? They're going to call us. How do we handle that? And so all these parameters here in the protocols are meant to customize this to your heart's content so that we can operate how you want us to operate. They are very, very detailed. And we will be more than happy to take care of your clients in the manner that you believe is best. Once I get the protocol back, you'll send me also a logo. We're going to use the logo to build flyers. This is an example of our Cornell partners. And so you'll have a title there. It is your hospital name. We offer triage services, a little paragraph describing what we are. Steps to connect. Step 1, visit your website. That'll be your landing page. So you can see there it says /Cornell. Step 2, follow the instructions. Step 3, the vet joins. And there's a QR code there they can scan as well, but you'll have that flyer that you can print, email to folks, add to newsletters, social media posts, etc. We'll make it with your logo, obviously, in your hospital. We'll send this back to you. So for those who are equine only, we're going to send you the VetTriage logo with the hoof, and then in regards to the non-equine, you get a paw. We haven't dived into other footprints yet. But those are the two you'll get back depending on how your hospital operates. Here's an example of Cornell's website. So what they did was they put VetTriage at the forefront of their emergency section, and it says, is your pet experiencing an emergency? Click on VetTriage. And they require their clients to use us before they even see them. We are the first step. We are level 1 triage for Cornell. And so they'll click on that logo. The client will click on that logo, go to the landing page, and then we will triage them. Here's another example of the website. So this is a good example because this facility in Hawaii, it's an island, and so they're the ones that are going to manage all the species. And this is a type of situation where if it's an emergency and for some reason they're not on call, if it's truly an emergency, the client has to agree to possibly flying to the next island to seek veterinary care. They're not doing that with the large animals, of course, but we manage their large animal after hours on call as well. So a client will go to their website, beautiful website. They'll scroll down to the after hours section, as you can see there on the bottom of the page, and there it is, VetTriage logo. It'll have a paragraph there, how to connect with us, and then they'll push the logo or that button and then talk to one of our doctors on video live. And so just an example again of what your website will have. Now some of you don't have websites. Absolutely fine. That's okay. The verbally, you can, on your voicemails, on your email auto response, on your social media, you can talk about VetTriage, and then we'll go into details later. There's a phone number you can give clients too. They can also call in as well. So if you don't have a website, don't fear. There's plenty of other avenues to spread the word that you're partnering with VetTriage, and then clients can reach us very quickly. Here's another example of a landing page. So this is Weezer Veterinary Clinic. They use us for mixed animal practice. That's their logo there. And so what you'll see is a paragraph, then connect in 3 easy steps. So when your client clicks on the VetTriage logo on your website, or they scan the QR code on the flyer, this is what they're going to get to, the landing page. Then when you scroll down that landing page, the client will see this form to fill out. We make this very easy. If you'll notice on here, other than the very last question, which is this for a horse, there is no signalment information. There's no history information. That's on purpose. If I have a client that has a horse or any other species that's truly in distress, I don't want them filling out a 30-page questionnaire. I need them to get on immediately. So when the session shows up, our doctors are there to claim the session. So all we ask for is the email address for the client, which is what we're going to use to send them the advice. I'm going to show you examples of that. We want their first name and last name, obviously. We want their phone number for tech support. If the client has bad internet or their device dies, or maybe they don't have video at all, we want to be able to call them. And then preferred language, English or Spanish, and then is this for a horse, yes or no. You can see there a tab for existing customers. If the client has already been to us before, they can click on that and then log back in even faster. Here's an example of Dr. Franklin's landing page for his hospital. And so he's got the logo on there, the paragraph, 3 steps, and then they'll scroll down to the bottom and then fill out the information, as you can see there on the screen, and click with or connect with our veterinarians. This is an example. This is the process that your clients will go through. I do have screenshots of this after this video, if the video doesn't play, but this will be maybe a minute-long video explaining how your clients, how the process will go in real time. So again, we're using Dr. Franklin's website as well, his landing page for his facility. Your client will click on VetTriage logo. They'll get forwarded to this landing page. They'll say, okay, I got to fill this out. They're going to fill out their email address. They're going to fill out their first name, their last name, their phone number, the language they prefer. Is this a horse or not? Yes. They click on continue. It's then going to bring them to step 2. Step 2 is going to be where they're going to pay for the session. And so there's always a disclaimer on there. We have to be able to protect you, but more importantly, protect ourselves. All the legalities on us, which we're going to talk about in a minute. This is the manner by which they can pay. I think there's also Apple Pay for some folks. It just sort of pops up for them if that's an option for them. But once they pay, they click once they pay, the payment goes through. They'll then step 3 will highlight and they'll click request session. And then the video window pops up, and in less than 2 minutes, they're on with the doctor. And you can see we've got a horse logo there, so they know they're in the right place. You can see there at the bottom of step 3, request session, there's a phone number they can call us. Let's say for some reason they click that button, all of a sudden their cell phone dies, their computer dies, their tablet dies. Well, their desktop, they can call us. We have a phone number there, and it's also on the receipt as well that they'll get in their email. So they can give us a call if they're having tech issues, or they lose the doctor midstream or something like that. We want to make sure the client can always reach out to us. When you're dealing with emergencies, that everybody here knows time is of the essence. We want to make sure this is a very quick process. So now just some screenshots of the same thing you just saw. There's step 2 highlighted with the little horse picture, and there it is, the price, $75 per equine session. They'll then click on the disclaimer. They can click on what is VCPR. That way we can go through with them in detail, what the current landscape is for veterinary telehealth, and so why is that we are allowed to operate this way. They acknowledge, they agree. They then choose their method of payment. They pay. They click request session. They're on with the doctor. So just to summarize again the process for those who plan on partnering with us: set up a meeting, usually a video call, but it can be a phone call as well. You'll fill out the protocol, send me the logo, no contracts, no agreements. This is at no cost to your facility. We'll create that landing page with your logo on it, the flyers, and then the protocol will be internally on our end live. We will then on your side, we'll expect you to put on your website the VetTriage logo. That's where you'll embed the landing page. You'll share the flyers with the clients. For those who don't have a website, your voicemail, email auto responses, social media posts, and maybe give it a week heads up to your clients. This is an example session in real time, or not in real time, but a real session on VetTriage. This is about 16, 17 minutes long. We're not going to go through the whole thing. I'm just going to show you kind of the beginning meat of it. If folks are desiring to see the rest of it, once the talk is done and there's no other questions, I'm happy to play it for you. But we'll see if it works. That'd be great. And
Yeah.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I am, we had a foal born today, this morning, and the girl it belongs to wanted me to call and work with this with you guys. So,
Okay.
And I'm going to get my daughter to come out because she's actually the horse person. I'm just the mom. Okay, hold on one second.
Yeah.
Hey, Carson. All right, she's running out here with me. And I'm going to turn the video around so you can, I'm walking up to the foal right now.
so the doctor can type notes simultaneously while they have the video up as well. So they can see and hear the client.
Okay.
The client can see and hear
That's
the
the
doctor.
mama, right?
And they're
The
typing
dark
up
one.
notes.
Okay.
And then baby's taking a nap. He's been up and moving. I hear you Wednesday.
Remember, I told you to reach out.
I know.
Oh.
The vet is on the phone. We're doing a call with her to look over, to check out the baby.
Cool.
So, hey, Coasty. So we're going to walk over now.
Okay.
So
Can
we
you
own
tell
the
me a
video
little bit
platform.
about the mare? How old is she? What breed? Is this her first foal?
This is her first foal. She is a quarter, and we are not quite sure how old she is.
Okay. And were there any concerns during the pregnancy?
No, ma'am.
And was the foaling observed?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So you found the foal this morning?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you find the placenta, the fetal membranes?
We did.
Okay. Do you still have those?
We do.
Awesome. Okay, and so the foal is a few hours old, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, and what's he done so far since you guys found him?
He has walked around, he's nursed, and he's laid around.
Mm-hmm. Have you observed him nursing, and did you notice any coughing or milk coming out of his nose?
We have observed him nursing, and no, we've not noticed any of that.
Okay, and mom is tolerant of him nursing?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, would you be able to get a little closer so I can have a look at his belly and his umbilicus?
Oh. Pull his legs. Well, hey, bud.
Oh, and if
Hey.
whatever he wants to show me, that's fine. It looks like you have some iodine dip on there.
Yes.
Perfect.
It's okay.
And is there any swelling or discharge around it?
It does not appear to the so. No, there's not. There you go. Does that help?
Okay. Yeah, that's perfect.
I will.
All right, thank you. Okay, yep, let's not get kicked.
Okay, King Philip.
All right, and it looks like if he wants to get up and walk around, that would be perfect.
All right. Okay. You want us to nudge him to get up?
Yeah, it looks like Mom's
Right.
gonna give
Come
him
on.
a little nudge.
Come on, King Philip. Come on. Thanks, Wednesday. Could you make him get up, please, ma'am? Oh, no.
Oh, so hard to be a
All right.
baby.
You want to help him up?
All right. If he wants to stay down for a second, if you want to show me his gums, that would be great.
Hi, Bubba.
Oh, hold on. Wrong way. There we go.
Oh, perfect. And can you just press down on them with one finger?
Oh.
Looking for the capillary refill. Okay, and let go. Looks good. Are they nice and moist?
They're pretty moist. It's a little dry, but nothing bad. Like,
Okay. That's good. They look nice and pink and healthy. All right, now if you want to give him a little butt scratch to get him up.
There, come on. Oh, you're going to be a fun one. You're going to obey?
that's a good word. I'll be so little.
It's a good thing you're so little. That's right.
Phil,
Yeah.
There, come on, buddy.
There we go.
Come on. Oh, baby. There you go. All right.
All right.
there you
All right, Coast, move out of the way, buddy.
He's like, I'm trying.
Sorry, my phone, I have to move the opposite way to make.
That's okay. The video is coming through a little bit pixelated, but it looks like he's getting around pretty well. And I don't see any obvious contracture or abnormalities in his legs. So that's good. It looks like he wants to go nurse. That's perfect.
It takes him a little bit to find it, and then he kind of gets latched on.
He's doing great for a few-hour-old colt. Have you guys had foals before?
We have not. This is our first one.
Okay, that's so exciting.
So,
Yeah, especially the colt foals can be a little bit slow.
okay.
Um,
Yep. But he has nursed. We've there he goes. He's latched on.
yep.
Get it, buddy? There he goes. I can hear him gulping now.
Yep, yeah, I can hear that too. That's great. And then we'll let him nurse for a second. The other thing I want to have you check for me, if you haven't already, is just rub your hands down both sides of his rib cage and make sure that you don't feel any lumps, bumps, or abnormal movement in the ribs, because sometimes when they're passing through the birth canal, they can end up with rib fractures. And usually you'll feel like a little bit of crunching or some swelling around them.
Okay. You want her to
We don't
go
want
ahead
to
and
distract him while he's nursing. And he looks just a little bit in that left front leg. That left front leg looks a little bit contracted at the knee. It's
Okay.
not fully straight. A lot of times in the first 24 to 48 hours of their life, if they're up and walking around, their tendons will get stronger where they need to get stronger and loosen up where they need to loosen up. But if that doesn't start to straighten up in the next couple of days, you'll want to have somebody out to see him in person.
Okay.
There's the bandaging and different medications that they can give to relax those tendons.
Okay.
And that works best when they're a couple of days old.
Great.
The other thing that I can't do for you over the phone, but would be a good idea to have, do you have a regular vet who takes care of your horses?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so I would plan to have them out on Monday if they can,
Okay.
to check some blood work. They want to check what's called an IgG. So that's to check that he got enough antibodies from mama's first milk.
Okay.
Typically, if it's been a healthy pregnancy and an uncomplicated foaling, as long as they get up and nurse right away within the first couple hours of life, it's usually not a problem. But if they don't get enough antibodies, they can get really sick.
Okay.
So we just like to check that in the first couple of days of life.
Okay.
And then they can get, supplemental antibodies by plasma if they need to.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Will Mama stand if you hold up her tail to show me her backside?
Yes. Come on, girl. You're okay, Mary.
All right.
Sorry,
Good.
got a friend.
That's okay. Looks like I don't see anything hanging out, so that's good. You'll also want to have, whenever your vet does come to check on the foal, have her check and make sure that there's no lacerations or tearing in her cervix inside. Usually with an easy foaling, they don't have problems, but you'll have somebody have a feel of that in a few days for sure.
Okay. We'll do that.
Okay, and then do you have the placenta handy to show me?
Yes. It's back up by the,
So they spend the rest of the video laying out the placenta on the floor, so Doc can take a look at it. She was happy with it. And then she reiterated that she's going to email them, excuse me, the summary of the advice given, the conversation, and then if their family vet is partnered with us, they'll automatically get that summary as well. And so I'm happy to replay the video or play the end of it if folks want to towards the end of the call here. So let's say, for example, that was an actual emergency. This is an example of a protocol. This is a protocol we're going to build for your facility. And this is what that 1.5 Word document turns into. We'll take what you told us, we'll go back and forth. Maybe I have some questions for you, clear up some stipulations, and then we're going to design the protocol. We have them laid out in a very similar fashion. The goal of this slide is not to necessarily have you read this line by line. It's very small font, but we have in there things that are highlighted in red, things that are delineated with a line. We're looking for a way that my doctors can pull this up internally if there is truly a medical emergency. And this protocol is intended to tell us, well, how does your emergency work? What are your fees? What time zone are you in? What's the address of the facility? How far away is this client? Are you willing to see clients within a certain radius or outside of a certain radius? Are you willing to see clients who are not your clients? They don't have a family vet, or the family vet they go to is not operational for emergency care, or perhaps they're visiting out of town and they need someone to talk to tonight or see someone tonight. What are all your stipulations? Do you see non-equine? How many doctors are on call? What's their phone numbers? What do we do if we can't reach the doctor? Who's the backup? What if your facility can't see ER? Can we send them anywhere else? All these stipulations are in here, and that's what the protocol turns into. So there's just an example of one. Here is another one again, another example. This is a mixed animal practice, and so you can maybe see there it's small, but there's fees for non-large animal, fees for large animal, a euthanasia fee, what species they take care of. There's a list there, and then how they operate from there. What doctors are on call, phone numbers, scheduling. What if you're not available? What if the pet is deceased at home? All of these things are in your protocols and internal. This stuff is not shared with clients. We don't give clients your cell phone if we deem it an emergency. That's not how this works. After the doctor deems it an emergency, we look at your protocol. Yes, you offer on call. This is the fee. This is how far away the client lives from your facility. We call the doctor on call or the LVT on call, whoever it is. We don't share your personal cell phone information with the client. Another example of a facility, again, you'll see kind of a similar structure to all these protocols. That's on purpose. All of my staff are trained the same way. They're used to the layout of these protocols. And you can see there are different lengths, different amount of detail, because we want to make sure that you feel as though we are an extension of your facility. We want to make sure the client feels we are an extension of your facility. Therefore, we want to follow things as you deem fit. And so these are just examples of protocols. Now this, again, small font, the idea is not to read all this, but this is an example now of advice that we have. So for example, colic, a very common equine emergency. Some are mild and don't need emergency care, some are severe. And of course there's in between. So this is an example of templates that our doctors have internally of advice that they can literally put into an email and send off to the client. And this is all internal, all in our document hub. So for colics, the doctors can pick and choose what advice they want to give. They can write their own advice if they want. We all know, if you're in practice long enough, common things occur commonly. And so we have protocols, or rather I'll say advice, templates that our veterinarians can use and modify to their heart's content for common conditions that they'll see with horses. So this is an example of like a colic one. And you have everything there from monitoring to medications the client may have access to already at their location. What do you do about exercise, water intake, diet, and what kind of follow-up are we looking at for your family vet in person? Here's another example of advice that we have internally. Again, this is all internal. Wound care, very common. And a lot of equine owners are accustomed to handling wounds and bandaging and things like that. So we can go through them. What kind of monitoring, exercise regimen, what kind of wound care are we talking about? Where the wound is located matters and how you manage this. So all this stuff is used. Again, these are all in the event of a non-emergency. If you have a fractured limb, obviously, or a massive wound with hemorrhage, those are emergencies. Most of these times when we see a wound on video that's not an emergency, we can band-aid things until your vet's open. Your facility will never know the difference. We're not going to call you. No one's calling you for a non-emergency anymore. Foaling, choke, other common conditions with equine that we can help the client through if it's deemed not an emergency. If it is an emergency, we're going to defer to your protocols and then call you in. Otherwise, the vast majority of these calls are not emergencies. We're going to give them advice, monitoring parameters, what to do, what to look out for until your facility is open again. Now, the next step, after we have the video call, we have the summary email to the client. It'll be forwarded to your facility because you're partnered with us. You'll get the records in real time as well. What do those records look like? Here is what they look like currently. This is a skeleton. Obviously, it's not filled out. And it's got the doctor's name, the date, the client information, the signalment of the pet. Obviously, these things are going to be managed appropriately. If they don't know the weight of the horse, for example, or something like that, they'll just delete those things or put not available. What the hospital name is that they come from normally, medical summary, and then you can see there A, B. A, is it an emergency or not? What did we do? Did we call that person in or not? Did we recommend emergency but they couldn't afford it? Or they had no way of getting the horse to your facility? Because that matters. We recommended emergency but they couldn't do it financially or geographically. If it's not an emergency, which is the majority of these calls, well then step B there. How many days do we want you to see your vet? You can see from the previous video, she said in a couple of days, have your vet come out. Great. We want to set expectations for the clients, but we want to promise them things that are unrealistic. Only you know your staffing and scheduling best. So we're not going to promise a client after a long 4-day holiday weekend that you're going to see them first thing on Tuesday morning when you open up. That's not how this works. We want to make sure the client understands that we're okay if you see your practitioner within the next 7 to 10 days, next 30 days, next 3 days. That way, when your facility opens again, you get our email, you can then determine based on the summary, how quickly do we want to see this patient? Call them up. Hey, how's so-and-so doing? We saw you use VetTriage over the weekend. How are we doing now? Okay, great. Let's get you in for a follow-up. How does Wednesday sound? How does next week sound? Right? And so this is the summary. And then after that, you can see there D and E. The D is a list of clinical signs, symptoms that the doctor can tailor to the case. These are the things we want you to look out for at home after this call. It's not enough just to triage them and let them go. We want to make sure that they know what to do thereafter. Let's say something changes with that pet. That horse's colic worsens. We educate them on video live. We wrote it down on paper, emailed it to them, and now the condition is progressing. Well, we don't want them to be charged again. We don't feel right gouging the client for a follow-up. So we will take care of your clients for free until your facility is open again. They can call us back or email us back with any questions, concerns, videos, pictures, whatever they need, so we can alleviate their concerns. Or maybe now the plan has to change. Maybe that choke that was not an emergency 5 hours ago is now an emergency, right? And so part E there, you can see they can email us at that email address or they can call us with that 1-800 number. That 1-800 number is also shared with your facility when you partner with us, because for clients who either are not tech savvy, don't have video, don't have internet, don't have smart devices, they can call in and then pay over the phone. But that same phone number is also used for those clients who have questions after their sessions or they're concerned about the horse's progression after the session is completed. And then of course your standard legalese there, disclaimer to protect ourselves. And this is the document you'll get as a PDF. This is what the client will get as well. And that way everybody is kept in the loop with communication. So here is the one that was written by the previous clinician and that foaling. Just wanted to show you the level of detail. I cut out all the nice stuff like the VetTriage logo to make it fit the page more. So that's why it looks so kind of boring. But this will be laid out nice on the PDF when you receive it. And so you have there all the information of the owner, the doctor, the horse, the date. That's the summary of what we just saw on video, what we talked to them about. And then following that, there's our advice that we gave them. We want to see your vet in a couple of days. So it's a long list of advice, things to look out for. Look at the very bottom left-hand side there. Those are all the symptoms we're looking for. Rather, we want to educate the client to look for regarding the foal. And by the way, that video session was 2 patients, right? You had mom and you had foal. So if, let's say you have more than one patient that got into a toxicity at home, we'll take care of multiple animals at the same call. They just pay the one fee. It's the same, they're all having a problem, whether it's the same or not, doesn't really matter to us. They're all having a problem at the same time, whether they're related or not, doesn't matter, and we'll take care of them. So in that case, there were 2 patients that we had to take care of, mom and foal. And then of course our standard, if you have any questions, email us or call us back, and then the disclaimer. So I want to, since I'm throwing a lot of information at you, I want to recap kind of how the workflow is going to go. This is before VetTriage. This is how you operate. So the current workflow is the horse owner has a concern, it's after hours, they call the answering service, which is just going to get some brief information, then forward the call to you anyway, or tell you to call the client back. Or you give the client your own cell phone number, perhaps it's an LVT on call, however you're established. Doctor will take on every single phone call and triage over the phone in the middle of the night, on a holiday weekend, whatever it may be. If it's an emergency, you'll figure out a way for visitation. If it's not an emergency, you're going to give advice as best you can, despite the fact that it's over a phone and usually you don't have video or images to look at. So the problem there in the blue box, this is how we currently operate. This is why we're in trouble now. This is not really a sustainable model. Your hospital team needs to have enough rest because of burnout, compassion fatigue. It's not worth the cost of the ER fee to be woken up and then be tired the next day for a full day of appointments and surgeries. You don't really gain any revenue from taking calls that are non-emergencies, and some of you don't even get paid for emergency calls. And then of course there's going to be safety concerns. What's the weather like? Are you tired? Do you have support staff with you? What's the risk of someone getting hurt on that call? These are all the ways we've been running it. You guys have been operating. I'm sure there's plenty of other things you can add to this workflow, but essentially bare bones. And then of course with VetTriage involved, you have the same horse owner, they have concerns, they contact VetTriage, we get a veterinarian on video in real time, and the veterinarian will determine, as you saw in that example session, is it an emergency or not. If it is, we're going to follow your protocol. The client has to approve the emergency fee, whatever those are from your protocol. That doesn't include procedures and treatment, diagnostics and hospitalization or whatever. That's just the emergency fee. So whether that's just the on-call fee or alone, or the fees for the travel, however it is you guys normally do it, and maybe your fees change. Maybe certain hours it's one fee, after that it's another fee, maybe holidays and weekends are different fees, whatever. Client approves the fees. They have a true medical emergency, client approves the fees. We know how far the client lives. Are they able to bring the patient to you, or are you going to have to go out there? And then what are your rules for your facility? Do you provide haul-in or not? These are all stipulations you're going to have. The client has to agree to these things. This is how you operate. This is how we're going to make them operate. And then how far do they live? We'll then contact the person on call, usually a doctor. Hey, this is VetTriage calling. Sorry to bother you. I know it's late. I've got a colic, one of your clients, etc. And then we'll go through the case, and then you'll tell us how do you want to organize it thereafter. We send you the report, and everything's packaged for you. Most cases are non-emergencies. The owner is given advice and monitoring parameters and instructions to follow up with the family vet. Everybody has to go somewhere. None of these clients stay with us. We're not a brick and mortar. We're not a virtual clinic. We're a teletriage, tele-advice. Is it an emergency or not? What advice are we giving if it's not an emergency? You can't stay with us. You're either going to be seen on emergency, or you're going to go back to your family vet when they open. So this allows the hospital to operate more smoothly, lets folks get rest. The on-call doctor is only contacted for true emergencies that are vetted by a veterinarian live on video, and it'll be an equine practitioner in the case of equine sessions. This will help with access to care as well for folks. Maybe a client of yours already knows they can't afford the fee or they can't travel, but they want to talk to somebody. And it may be an emergency, but they still want to talk to somebody. And so we'll help them through that process. And if they can't be seen on emergency because of their own financial or geographic limitations, we'll help them the best we can from home. Talking to a veterinarian is better than Dr. Google. We all know this. And it's better than not doing anything for that horse. So we'll find ways to help them out. This avoids unnecessary visits. You can vet them a lot better over video live, right? We all know that owners describing something over the phone can seem way more dramatic and serious than on video or when you actually see pictures. And so this helps us feel secure in our ability to triage. This will improve your work function, improve recruitment. So the goal here is to streamline this whole process, that you are no longer on call directly. You stop giving your cell phone number, no more answering service. We take care of this functionality for you. Finally, what are the outcomes we're seeing with VetTriage? We'll go through outcomes, then we'll go through common concerns, and then any questions you have. So outcomes regarding staff shortages, we see in real life, in brick and mortars on the floor, improved retention, less turnover, easier hiring. I've literally had doctors say, I've leveraged your service when I'm trying to woo this new veterinarian and to let them know, we know on-call sucks. It's kind of mandatory for equine, but here's the good news. VetTriage cuts down 80% of your calls. You only get woken up for true emergencies, and those emergencies are packaged for you. And there's no hesitation, no question mark as far as, is that client, do they understand the fee? How are we setting this up? All that's packaged. So it's easier to hire doctors that way. Less revenue loss with headhunting and training, more cohesive team. You'll also see an improvement with the hospital culture. We see less compassion fatigue. Individual patient care improves when your facility can focus on those truly emergency cases. This is, of course, during daytime or if you're operating a 24/7 facility. We want to make sure you're focusing on those patients that really need to be seen. Resources are limited. And so we want to make sure that each individual patient gets the care they need, and the ones that shouldn't be there. And we'll take care of them. Don't let them distract you from the more important, or rather, the more critical cases. The leadership team will be viewed as being caring because VetTriage is a way of improving work-life balance. And for clients who are pissed off that you weren't available, there's a long wait time or whatever it is, this improves their online reviews. As far as new graduates go, you can customize the caseload to the veterinarian's experience level. So for those who use us during the daytime, they can sort of pick what kind of volume they're going to see during the day and let VetTriage handle most of the cases that are not obvious emergencies. And it lets your younger doctor, your new grad, kind of get used to being more proficient, more efficient during the daytime. You can customize the caseload to what staff you have present. If 5 people called out sick that day, you're kind of screwed. And so you may say, well, you know what, guys, push VetTriage. We're only going to see the most important, sorry, I keep using that word, the most critical cases. And if VetTriage sees something that's important, that's critical, sorry, we'll take it in. If not, they'll take care of it and they'll send us the report. And so during the daytime, you can leverage us if you want to. You choose. And of course, more individual case focus. Individual facility solutions. This is the core of this. I've mentioned this several times. Customized protocols for your facility, tailored to your clients, unique to your own hospital operations and adaptive to your geographic location. The Hawaii example is a great one. All of Alaska uses us. These are places that are rural. And so if you need a plane or a boat to get to the emergency hospital, it really helps talk to a veterinarian on video to see if you can avoid that level of stress and commitment. Common concerns. What about VCPR, veterinary client-patient relationship? Although we are seeing now more and more states are approving a virtual VCPR, and we're going to see more of this, teletriage and teleadvice does not require a VCPR. So that's not our goal, it's not the functionality, it's not where we live, and that's according to the AVMA as well. You might say, my clients need me. They ought to be tied to the practice, not the practitioner. VetTriage should be an extension of your facility. The client does need you and your staff, but you need to be rested. They want a compassionate, knowledgeable veterinarian, regardless of the source, and we can supply that. Our veterinarians are seasoned doctors. Lots of them have owned and sold practices. They have multiple years of experience, and we prefer the new grads to be in the facilities, hands-on. We all know this. Doctors need to see the same case hundreds or thousands of times in order to be familiar with it to provide exceptional care on video. You don't have access to your hands or to diagnostics, so you need to be proficient as a doctor. So our doctors have been in the field for decades. We have emergency doctors, specialists, experienced GPs. So you guys need to be rested, and you can trust us with your clients after hours. How long is the process to get on with a veterinarian? It's less than 1 minute to log in and pay. Average wait time, 2 minutes when they're on with the doctor. If the wait time goes towards 3 or 4 minutes, we get more doctors on to lower the wait times. Because you can imagine holidays, nights, weekends get very busy. We have multiple doctors on simultaneously to handle the incoming cluster of calls. My clients are used to being able to call me directly anytime. We need a culture shift. And this culture shift is way more difficult to turn around on the equine side than it is small animal. Small animal adopted VetTriage immediately. It's a no-brainer. Equine is suffering from the same problems. However, you're so used to giving your clients your cell phone, and you're so used to them to thinking that they really, really need you specifically, it's hard to turn this ship around. But we need to. If you're going to improve work-life balance and be sustainable, you have to find a way to handle the after-hours emergencies. What if my clients skip us and use VetTriage? Hasn't happened. During the daytime when you're operational, clients always want to see you. They always prefer to see you. They don't care how minor or severe their condition is with their pet. They want to see you in person. You tell them we're not available till Wednesday, next month, whatever it is, call VetTriage. We trust them, they're great. My hospital has specific stipulations. They have unique geographic location. The protocols will handle all of that. We're used to helping clients who are in the most rural of areas. And so we will follow your protocols, customized to whatever it is that you need. You'll make us aware of your geographic uniqueness. We will handle it. We've got a document hub internally that's full of unique information. Let's say there's a toxicity that the doctor's not sure about on video. They can access the document hub and we'll figure things out. Perhaps there's a medical condition that's unique to a certain area of the world. We have documents in there for that. We also have a live chat, 70 plus doctors, all experienced, different animal types. And so the doctors can do, we used to call in the specialty practice when I was operating a hallway consult or a drive-by consult, right? Walk by, hey, what do you think about this case? Hey, can I get your opinion? You mind looking at these rads? Our veterinarians talk to each other all the time. Hey, how would you guys treat this? What would you guys manage? What can I tell this client? I'm not really sure. How about follow-up questions or concerns when the pet's condition changes? They can call or email us with questions to be answered or for re-triaging anytime until you're open again. We're not looking to keep your client. When you're open, they are yours now. But we're going to take care of them so that they don't feel alone during the entire process after we've triaged them. This is at no additional cost, and it's until you're operational. Yeah, but my hospital performs triage for free right now, so there's legal and ethical concerns with that, obviously. It's inefficient use of your team. Whoever you have answering phones to triage, assuming they're medically trained, they could be doing something actually on the floor. And not triaging things over the phone and risking legality and risking ethical issues. You're not going to charge for them to triage over the phone either. So not only are you losing a staff member, a staff member with medical knowledge to being stuck on a phone call, but you're not even charging for that. And chances are it's not your vet or LVT that's going to be performing the triage, a CSR or receptionist that's going to do some sort of cursory triage. And of course, you don't have access to videos or pictures. So let us provide the triage service. Clients need to get used to paying for triage. It's a minimal fee compared to what it takes to own a horse and get care. And most of the time, they're going to get peace of mind and advice and monitoring. If it's not that, it's an emergency, we'll follow your protocols. Are triaging categories useful? I'm going to show you in the next slide what an example of this is. My thoughts on the whole urgent care model, which is taking the small animal practice by storm, is it's invariably going to turn into, it's going to have the same problems that ER currently has. Urgent care is nice because you get to tailor to what cases you want to see. They're not too critical and they're not too stable. They're somewhere in between, right? And the problem with that is you're relying on the pet owner. Again, this is a small animal. I don't know how it's working with urgent care in large. From my research, it's not a big thing yet. But on the small animal side, you're relying on the pet owner to decide whether or not it's urgent and not emergency or critical and not kind of stable, can wait for their family veterinarian. It's going to end up having the same problems as far as I can tell. You can do it successfully, but you still should have probably a medical person determining what's urgent and what's not, and then you're back to square one. You're using a medical person to triage again. And then if you have a desire to be a televeterinarian on VetTriage, send me a resume, We'll have a video meeting. We are blessed in that we've never had to advertise for doctors. We did advertise for equine. There's less of you out there. And for Spanish speaking, less of you out there. But overall, we do not have the brick and mortar issue with hiring. I've got over 200 applicants waiting for work. I hire based on need. I don't look to steal your staff. That's not the goal here. In fact, when I notice on a resume that a veterinarian is coming from a partner clinic, I make sure that veterinarian knows we're not even gonna have a conversation unless you tell me that your practice is aware that you're looking for work. Otherwise, no go. It is way too hard to find and retain staff in brick and mortar. We're not looking to steal staff members. But for those of you who are interested, there was some interest expressed, email me your resume and we'll schedule a video meeting. So in regards to these levels of care, again, this is a small animal one, but they'll put this on their website and say, this is an emergency hospital. So they'll say, oh, here's level 1 to level 4. You as a pet owner decides. Well, they're not medically trained and they frequently will overstate and over dramatize the symptoms, the clinical signs they're seeing and not be able to follow this. Plus, look at level 2, third one down, shock is put in there. Well, what client knows what shock is unless they're not medically trained? So it just doesn't make much sense. Look at level 3, go down a few to the middle, not eating as being level 3 urgent. Well, not eating, for how long, what species, what age? These things matter as far as whether or not it's critical. So I'm not a fan of these charts. They're cute, they're nice, they probably serve the purpose to some degree, but I'm not a fan, and I would say let us triage for real instead. So workflow, you currently are giving out your cell phone using the answering service. We're going to replace that. We're going to email you records. It'll be date and time stamped when the session ended, so you know that your patient was seen by us at 3:34 a.m. on Saturday. You'll know exactly what time, what day, what happened. If it is an emergency, we're going to package it for you so you have a more streamlined emergency call. You're going to have the whole signalment, the history, what's going on, the client's expectations, they approved ER fees, how far they are, what's the commute going to be like. We package that for you. That really helps, by the way, with young grads, with new grads. They need mentorship, right? And we're all busy and it's very stressful. And so packaging a case for them and setting up client expectations can actually help a new graduate even more. So it's a nice way of sort of indirectly mentoring your new hire. And then we always make recommendations for follow-up with your facility. It's either ER or make an appointment, but you're always going to be pushed to see you guys back. What if my client is unfamiliar with technology, doesn't have internet, doesn't have a smartphone? We give them the phone number, and we have our own internal phone support call center. Those are my half a dozen technicians that answer the phone. That's a call center. And so they'll handle phone calls coming in and get clients to pay and then connect them with the doctor. So that way, clients who are in this category need not worry. Liability, none on your end. The agreement between us and the client. They read and acknowledge the disclaimer. We have a disclaimer at the bottom of the summary that I showed you. We have experienced physicians, so that lowers any concerns on our end. It's live video, so that helps as well, liability. And also clients can access us for free at any time if they notice a change. So the onus is on them to reach out to us if something changes. So not a single medical board complaint in all the over 100,000 sessions we've seen. No contracts and agreements between you and I as partners. The liability is all on us. So that's not a concern. How do I know that your vets are going to give good advice? We have to trust our colleagues. We have high standards. I don't just hire everybody that comes by. And so you can trust our doctors are going to be amazing, and you'll see our notes. And you can give us feedback. And I'm happy to bring that feedback back to my veterinarians. We have meetings like this all the time, how they can improve things. Maybe it's just a matter of just writing records. We all know doctors and writing records. We're terrible at it. And so want to make sure that everything is to your expectations. Prescriptions are a non-issue with us. Most equine owners have stuff they can use, and they're also pretty proficient with handling wounds and things like that. So hasn't been a problem with us. And if it really needs medications that bad, it's maybe it's an emergency then, and it ought to go in. So it hasn't been an issue with us, especially because most horse owners are equipped with this stuff. We're going to package the case for you. You spend less time on emergency in the middle of the night, in cold weather, investigating a history. We got it. We packaged it for you. You show up. The client expects stuff, and your expectations are set, and you can go save a life. Finally, I'll leave you with a positive feedback from a client, a testimonial. The doctor here actually, she's an equine vet, and she decided, well, I've done small animal, and so there's actually a thank you note from a dog owner that our equine vet helped out, and so that's pretty cool. So thank you for these excellent evaluation recommendations for our dog. You were absolutely correct in your intake and thoughts about how we should support and care for his injury yesterday. He made a miraculous recovery, miraculous this morning, running top speed and being naughty. He's mended to the point where we are certain that a follow-up with our wonderful veterinarian is not needed, although I did speak with the office today. I also congratulated them with their selection and use of VetTriage as their after-hours support. I really can't say thank you enough. And so this is great. This is great. This is exactly what we're looking for with, this is of course small animal, but we get the thank yous like this all the time. Reach out anytime to me. That QR code will bring you to information on our website about partnership with VetTriage. It's a shortened version, of course, of this talk. Those are all our social media handles and my email there. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. And that's the show, folks. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to address them now. Thank you.
Thanks, Shadi. That was awesome. Great run through. I think you answered every question I have ever had about it. But if you guys have any questions and you want to populate that Q&A, that would be great. There was one question, but I think Shadi answered it concisely and thoroughly. So anyone else have a question? Just speak now or reach out to Shadi directly.
I had a question from the horse owner's end. Can I set up an account ahead of time so that I don't have to freak out trying to remember my credit card number when I have a colicking horse in front of me?
Yes, you can. Although the process to do all that is very fast. You're right. If you're frantic and you're any pet owner, you can actually create your account ahead of time, and you just don't follow through with the pay option then, or you can pay, right? And then you'll just have a session in your account. You'll get the email for how to log back in when you're ready to use it. And so you can just log in and use it. Excellent question. It hasn't been a problem on our end because it's so fast, but so we actually have a good number of clients that do this on their own, especially folks who live on islands or the on-call group is it. That's their only emergency for after hours. So they'll preemptively create an account ahead of time, pay ahead of time, and then they bank that session there. So a great question. Yes, they can do that.
And just kind of a follow-up on that, Shadi. Someone just asked, what if you're in an extremely remote area and there's no veterinarian? Is that kind of what you were talking about, where you guys begin to use that tele-advice and kind of do the MacGyver?
So I'll give you a story. Again, a small animal, because that's what I am. Alaska, very rural, and a lot of folks there, because of how the terrain is, they can't drive to the ER, and so it's either a ferry or a plane. And the folks who are on call there they don't provide on call after a certain time. Fair enough. We don't dictate how you operate your facility. We're just here to help out as much as we can. So we had a GDV. A bloat for dogs, which is, I'm sure a lot of people here know, but just in case you don't know, that's an obvious surgical emergency. That dog needs to be cut quickly or else they're going to die. Well, there was no on-call by the time this dog had the bloat, and it was going to be 16 or 18 hours until a facility even opened again to see anything as a walk-in. So we trained the client how to rotate their dog. We have video of this. The dog's stomach would go back to normal position. The abdomen would sink in. He'd retch and burp. All the stuff would come out. He'd feel great. Hour passed. He rebloated, as you'd expect. They would do it again and again and again. This happened for 16 plus hours until they finally got seen. That dog lived. And it was operated on the next day. So although I'm not recommending this. This is not what we're looking to do here on this platform. But in those situations where people have literally no option, better talk to us and let's get some sort of creative process going. Or if it becomes a hospice type situation, well, how can we maximize the comfort of that pet? Do you have you have a Penton at home, tramadol, and again, I'm speaking from the small animal side. Do you have any anti-seizure meds at home? Maybe we can drug this patient up until they pass away. These are really tough scenarios that our veterinarians are equipped to handle. Thankfully, they're not that common, but it's a lifesaver, and it brings these clients intense peace of mind. And in that case with the bloat, that saved that dog's life. Instead of having a client who said, oh, it's midnight, there's no more on call, I guess I have to just watch my dog die, that would be the only option. Or Dr. Google, which won't tell them what we told them. And so, anyway, long story, but yeah, we will handle those situations if it's called for. But again, I just want to stress that's not our ideal. So I don't want anybody here to walk away thinking, oh, they're just gonna do wild, wild west stuff. It's not what we're doing here. But in those situations, it can make a huge difference.
No, that's great. I mean, we have members that live in remote areas and where they are the only source of veterinary advice or service for a long ways, and they feel very encumbered by the responsibility to be 365 days for everyone. And so just having, some other resource if they are out of town or need to take some time off, and to know that at least someone can speak to the client and help them through a situation, I'm sure that that'll be life-giving for those people too.
And
anyone else have any questions?
Doc, if you don't mind, I'll add to that actually. So let's say you partner with us, you're on call. That night, all of a sudden, the person on call has food poisoning, or their kid has to go to the hospital, right? And now they have to cancel on call. You not only email the team what's occurred so we can modify the protocols, but now your clients at least have us until someone is back on call, or until the next day when you open again, or the next week when you open again. So on-call changes, which happen all the time, on-call swaps, bad weather shows up, whatever it is, last-minute changes, you notify my team, we update your protocol, we got it. So at least now, if you do have to go on vacation and no one's on call, or you get sick or injured, you know that you at least have us to fall back on. We will take over. And we'll explain to the client, look, Dr. So-and-so is normally on call. She was going to be on call tonight. She's not available anymore due to extraneous circumstances. We're going to have to work with this together as best we can. And that's what we do. So just want to add that in there.
Yeah, no, perfect. Another question. Is there any cost as far as a veterinary clinic or a solo practitioner partnering, getting that whole website landing page set up, all that sort of stuff? Is there any outlay?
No, it only requires someone on your team who's familiar with your website to be able to change your website. However, I will also let you know, because I have an internal marketing team and internal development team, we've actually gone in and at the discretion of the partner, we've gone into their website and changed it for them, because they have no idea who runs the website. They don't have an IT team there, or maybe they don't have a website at all and they need one built. We'll be happy to help. And we're not going to charge for that kind of thing. We'll be happy to get in there and do it for you. So the only real cost is going to be you have to change your website, which if you have somebody who manages it, they can just change it. There's no cost there. Otherwise, we're happy to help with that. Beyond that, we build the flyers, protocols, landing page for free, and the relationship can evolve over time. As far as protocol changes, maybe things need to be tweaked or whatever. But there's no costs on that end of things. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. That's great. I've got another one here.
Sure.
Might need a little bit further explanation on it, but does VetTriage ever send the veterinarian a heads up on a case that may need to be seen soon, i.e. Like after giving Banamine with a colic? So maybe the veterinarian says, give the Banamine, and then do they give a heads up to the veterinarian, hey, there's one that's simmering? Or do they wait until the client actually has the real emergency before they contact the veterinarian?
So on a personal level, as a boarded surgeon who's been on call for his entire career, I always hated what I called previews. If a bloat walks in the door, don't call me until it's packaged and ready to go. Because if they don't have money concerns, the dog is critical, needs to be stabilized further, it's got comorbidities that doesn't warrant surgery, etc., don't bother me. So for me, I'm like, no previews. However, if your facility wants that as part of the deal, and say, look, if you guys see anything on VetTriage, it's not an emergency right now, but could turn into one tonight, I want to know about it. We'll be happy to. That's part of what you put in your protocols.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Another question. Do you offer service in Canada?
Yes. And actually, one more thing real quick, if you don't mind, to that prior point. Also, let's say, for example, you have clients that you have a certain subset of clients that will drive like 2-3 hours plus to get to you, right? And speaking of Canada, that happens a lot. They've got a 6 to 8 hour drive to get to the ER, the nearest ER. We don't want to call you 6 hours ahead of time, right? There's no point in waking you up 6 hours before they get there. So you can even include in your protocols, if a client lives 1+ hour away, don't call us until they're about 30 minutes away, then call us, right? That way we wake up the person on call at a reasonable hour and not have to wake them up twice. So just want to make that clear as well, that I thought of that point when you spoke, Doc. Canada, yes, we're a global company, and our biggest number of partners is United States and Canada. Absolutely. I think we're, if not in every province, we're in almost every province, and the majority of facilities there, because there's a lot of rural areas, they're on call. And we will help. We'll help there as well. Absolutely.
Cool. It sounds like maybe someone is curious about working as a VetTriage veterinarian. So, what type of qualifications are you looking for, and what about licensing?
Yeah. Email me your resume so I can look, because I do a deep dive into that. I want to make sure that Doc's in good standing and all that stuff. As far as what was the other question, Doc? Sorry, I lost
the license.
Oh,
do they require
yes.
a license in a certain state, or
no? As long as my doctors are licensed somewhere in good standing, they can provide teletriage, teleadvice. That's the beauty about no VCPR, and that's the beauty about not having any appointments. These are all emergencies, so it's at the judgment of the veterinarian, and that's the fundamentals behind triage and advice. We're going to trust the judgment of the veterinarian as to why was that an emergency or not an emergency, and what were the situations that called for that being an emergency from the client's point of view. As long as those two things mesh, which is 100% of our cases, then as long as you're licensing and in good standing, we'll leverage your skill.
Excellent. Man, I don't see any more questions. If anyone has any, there comes some late mail. Have you had any client complaints about having to pay for the session? I would worry that my clients don't want to pay for a session, especially since they're used to directly reaching the on-call vet right now for free.
So number one, no surprise with this answer, that has to stop, right? Clients need to pay for services. They need to pay for advice. Your medical knowledge, your expertise, your staff's expertise and medical knowledge, the building to keep the lights on, all that costs something. And clients we need to retrain our clients to say, if you need medical care, it costs something. So that's number one. Number two, the clients who complain about the $75, they certainly are going to complain about your emergency fee plus any diagnostics or treatments. These are usually the clients that are going to suck you dry over the phone at 3 a.m. about a non-emergency because they don't want to pay to be seen, but they want someone to talk to. And they're worried right now, 3 a.m. for a non-emergency, and you have to deal with it. So we can't have that anymore. It's destabilizing our quality of life as veterinarians, and we've got the ridiculous fallout of vets. So they can complain all they want. They don't have to use us. And if they're not willing to fork over $75, I'm not really sure they're gonna want to pay for your emergency fees. If they're really concerned, they ought to talk to a veterinarian. And because the majority of these cases are not emergencies, not only do they only pay $75, they're not going to pay an emergency fee to go in because it's not an emergency. And so they actually save hundreds of dollars of avoiding the trek or your drive there, or the emergency fee for you guys, or the mileage fee, all that stuff. So it's just not a strong argument anymore. And if we're going to try and change this profession for the better, we have to start training clients that things cost money. And we saw from the data, most horse owners are in the upper bracket. They do pretty well. It's not everybody, I know, but that's just the way it's going to have to be. We can't survive like this. So hopefully we can all work together to change the mentality here. Otherwise, we're going to be stuck in the same rut that we've been, and we're not going to have veterinarians anymore to replace the ones who are leaving.
That's right. That's right. Well, I really appreciate you sharing all that information. There's no doubt that there's going to be a lot of people that are able to put this into their practice. It's going to buy a lot of people some bandwidth. It's going to prevent some burnout. It's going to retain people in the profession. And it's actually going to attract people in the profession because they realize that they're not on the front lines. I love what you said about new graduates and the anxiety about going out and seeing an emergency, and the thought that having that whole thing packaged up for you in advance. That I think about myself as an intern, that would have gave me great peace to know that there. So thanks to you and your team for really getting this platform going. I'm sure there will be copycats that come along the way, and rising tides lift all boats, and that's fine. But really, you guys pioneered it. We're so happy to share it with the AAEP members, and just keep doing the good work, Shadi, because you guys are really helping your colleagues for sure with this whole emergency situation. So we appreciate you. We'll let you go, and thank you all for attending, and we'll see you on the next Wednesday roundtable. Thanks, Karen. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. We're so happy that you joined us tonight. And again, this will be available on demand. And actually, March 20th, we're having our first webinar for horse owners, which is going to be about emergencies.
Oh, cool.
And I think one of our subjects then is, be willing to pay for these discussions.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, as a horse owner myself, I would be more than happy to pay $75 to have somebody tell me whether my horse's laceration needs stitches or not. So it's a great thing. So, thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Franklin, for bringing Dr. Arafage to us. This was really interesting. And, we'll see you next time. So this is the awkward time where I just get to hang up on everybody. So one last chance, wave goodbye. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we'll see you next time. Okay, bye. Oh, there goes some applause. Thanks.
Thank you.
I love those. Bye-bye.
Bye.